This is Dan Mumm. Today I'm going to be showing you a 4-string diminished 7th sweep arpeggio. This pattern is taken from my sweep picking compendium, and it can be found in volume 2 as pattern number 20. This series of videos are meant to be supplemental material to the sweep picking compendium to help people get the very most out of it. But if you haven't purchased the sweep picking compendium, you can follow along with the free tab. The link is available in the description. Today I'm going to get a little bit into how the diminished 7th arpeggio works, as well as showing you one method of expanding on it. And this sort of thing is what I'd like you to be able to take away from the sweep picking compendium and be able to expand on all the patterns in there to suit your needs. But the diminished 7th works in a very particular way, so it's much easier to expand on, and so we're going to be getting into a little bit of that today. I've also included an extra tab for this particular free lesson. And so this tab isn't found in the sweep picking compendium, but it's based on the diminished 7th pattern in volume 2, that's pattern number 20. So it's based on that, and it's just an example of the many possibilities of how you can expand on the patterns found in the sweep picking compendium. I've included that tab today, but I'd highly encourage you to try to make up your own expanded versions using what I'm going to teach you in this particular lesson. So if you haven't started learning about theory, please don't be discouraged by all the theory jargon that I'm going to be throwing around. Just pay attention to how this pattern repeats itself and try experimenting with it yourself. You'll definitely be able to apply what I'm teaching today, even if you have no understanding of how the theory works. But I highly encourage you to look it up and get started on learning about intervals and basic arpeggio theory. It sounds a lot more complicated than it actually is. So the diminished 7th arpeggio is really interesting because all the notes in the arpeggio are equidistant from one another, meaning that from the root to the 3rd to the 5th to the 7th, each one of those intervals is a minor third. So 1 to the minor third is a minor third. The minor third to the flat 5th is also a minor third. Flat 5th to the flat 7th is also a minor third, and the flat 7th to the octave is also a minor third. So for this particular pattern, it's a C diminished 7th arpeggio on 4 strings. But let's look at that arpeggio itself. So let's just play that down on the 6th string for now, just for the sake of demonstration. So this is the C here, the root note. Now, the minor third is the next note in the arpeggio, and that goes up, as you guessed, a minor third. So that's a whole step and a half step apart. In any order, it's just 2 frets in between that you're skipping. Okay? Now, what's interesting about the diminished 7th pattern is that because it has a flat 5th next, the minor third to the flat 5th is also a minor third. So look at this. So here's the root to the minor third, and the minor third to the flat 5th. All right? The same thing is true of the flat 5th to the flat 7th that comes next. And then the flat 7th to the octave is another minor third. There's also the minor third shape that occurs on adjacent strings. So in this case, here would be the C, and the minor third here on the 6th fret of the 5th string. And if we go to the flat 5th, that again is that same minor third shape, right? And then as you can imagine, the flat 7 is again that same shape. So you can do all kinds of interesting things with this. Now this can repeat forever. If you had a guitar with infinite frets, you could just play up minor thirds the entire, like on one string, forever, and you would never have to change the pattern. It would always be just skipping 2 frets every note. And that's what makes the diminished 7th arpeggio so interesting. So because of that, you can just repeat the same pattern over and over again without having to change what your fingers are doing, technically. So like, for example, here's the pattern we're working on today. Let's move it up a minor third. Now we're starting on the minor third. Move it up a minor third. Now we're starting on the flat 5th. And so on. Same thing down here. So it's the same notes, but they're now starting on a new note. That's called an inversion. So originally we were starting on the C, which was the root note. If we start on the minor third, that's a different inversion. So even though the pattern is exactly the same, it looks the same, your fingers are doing the same thing, and the fret spacing and everything is the same, the notes are obviously different. So that's what makes the diminished seventh such an interesting arpeggio. So like again, this is the standard starting with the C. You'll notice we start with the flat 7. I'm doing the exact same thing with my fingers, just down a minor third. So here's the basic pattern we're working on today. This is pattern number 20 from the Sweep Picking Compendium, Volume 2. So this is the root note. Here's the minor third, then it's a flat 5th, a flat 7, here's the octave again, and the minor third again. Now if you notice, because we have multiple hammer-ons, just like the last one we went over, you're going to need to pause during your sweep motion to allow for that hammer-on to happen. So we're going to sweep down, pause to hammer on, sweep down, pause to hammer on and pull off, sweep up, pause to pull off, and sweep up. Okay, now as I promised before, we're going to be doing a sliding pattern that takes advantage of the property of this arpeggio that we talked about just a little bit ago. And this pattern is going to start on the flat 7 down here. So here's the root again, where we started on the original pattern. Here's the flat 7. So in this special extended version that we're doing, where we're sliding up positions, we're just going to be playing the first half of the arpeggio shape. Now again, it's an inversion because we're playing it lower to start. We're going to be playing the first half, this first half, we're going to be playing it down here starting on the 7th fret. Alright, then we're sliding up and coming down the same pattern that we started with, right? So it's the same general idea as if we just did this, only we're sliding up the second half and playing the same pattern up a minor third. Right? And then we're just going to repeat that by sliding on this on the low note here. Slide up, slide up, slide up, slide up, slide up. Now you can do all kinds of different patterns like this. It doesn't have to just be what I'm doing here. There's pretty much infinite varieties that you can come up with. And that's what I'd like you to take away from this lesson. I've included this particular pattern as part of the tab package that you can download for free. The link is in the description. Okay, so let's look at that pattern again. I strongly encourage you to try coming up with your own variations on this. And there's tons and tons of different kind of things you can do. And this is something that I'd really like you to take away from the Sweep Picking Compendium in general, is that these patterns aren't just static as they are. You don't have to play them exactly the way they're showed in the Sweep Picking Compendium. In fact, you can think of them more as a foundation to build infinite possibilities from. There's a million different possibilities you can do with this. Fool around with it, have some fun. Here's another idea. You can absolutely go through the Sweep Picking Compendium by just memorizing the patterns. This is going to fine-tune and perfect your technique, as well as just give you a vast arsenal of patterns to choose from. However, any single one of these patterns can be transformed into an infinite array of possibilities if you understand the applicable theory behind them. And my real goal in making the Sweep Picking Compendium is to liberate guitarists from needing something like the compendium. So in the future, you'd be able to make whatever pattern you need, just build it on the spot as you need it. This, of course, includes extending patterns, creating alternate versions of them, hybridizing them, and so on and so forth. So be sure to check out the free tab that can be found below or above. The link is in the description. And just to point this out, the only way to make it free using the service that I'm doing is to do it as a pay what you want sort of thing. But I really stress that you don't need to donate anything. This is meant to be free, so just put in the 0. You will be saying buy now, but you don't enter any credit card information or anything. It's 100% free. You can also find a link to the Sweep Picking Compendium in the description, which I highly recommend checking out if you haven't already. If you had, thank you for your support, and I hope you've been enjoying working through it. You can expect more videos like this in the future to help you get the most out of the Sweep Picking Compendium. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.